Everyone thought they had it all. Liza Bebralova, better known online as Wizard Liz, was living the kind of life millions only dream about. Her messages of self-worth, empowerment, and mental clarity resonated deeply with her followers. To them, she was the image of inner peace and external success. Behind the curated posts and carefully written captions, there was something else: a private life, a growing love, and most importantly, a future taking shape. Her fiancé Landon Nickerson was charismatic and accomplished in his own right. He often appeared in short clips with her, quiet, supportive, smiling. He didn't seek the spotlight, which made him seem even more grounded. People loved the contrast. Liz radiant and expressive, Landon calm and reassuring. They looked balanced. They looked happy. And for a while, maybe they were. It was a Sunday morning when she shared the news publicly. "I'm 4 months pregnant," she wrote simply. No dramatic reveal, no elaborate video. Just a few words, and a photo with her hand resting gently on her stomach. The response was overwhelming. Messages flooded in, congratulating them, blessing the baby, admiring the beauty of their journey. But behind the filtered glow of celebration, something was off, so faint at first, even Liz didn't see it. Her friend noticed it before she did. The subtle shifts. Landon stepping out more often. His phone suddenly guarded, always face down, always on silent. The usual warmth in his tone cooled over time. Not enough to raise alarms, but enough to make someone close wonder. Liz brushed it off. She was exhausted from pregnancy. Hormonal, maybe overthinking. That's what she told herself. He said he was busy. That the new project he was handling needed late nights, back-to-back meetings. He'd kiss her on the forehead before leaving, promise to be back soon, and then vanish into the night. She didn't question him. Not because she trusted blindly, but because she wanted to believe she was safe. She was building a life inside her. Surely he wouldn't choose now to be distant until night. She'd lie awake while he was still gone, one hand on her belly, the other scrolling through memories. There were photos of them in Paris, laughing under gray skies. Messages he once sent her, full of hope and love. She would reread them, quietly wondering where that man had gone. Still, she said nothing. It's easier to hold on to the image than confront the cracks forming underneath. Landon wasn't cruel. He didn't shout. He didn't disappear for days. But his presence became thinner, like smoke drifting through a half-open window. He didn't notice the way her eyes searched his face for answers. Or if he did, he ignored it. She told herself this was a phase. All relationships change. Maybe he just didn't know how to handle the idea of becoming a father. But Liz wasn't naive. She knew energy doesn't lie. The silence between them grew heavier. He stopped asking how her appointments went. When she brought up baby names, he nodded distractedly. When she spoke about nesting or her dreams of motherhood, he smiled politely, then changed the subject. She began keeping those thoughts to herself. Still, to the outside world they were perfect. The carefully chosen images, the matching clothes, the filtered light, they looked in love. It was important to her, maybe more than she realized, to preserve that illusion. Not out of pride but protection. The moment the outside world saw the cracks, they'd begin questioning her too. Why didn't she see it? Why didn't she leave? Why did she stay? She wasn't ready for those questions. Not yet. She kept a journal just for herself. Inside it were the things she couldn't say out loud. Her fears, her instincts, her hopes for her child. Some nights she would write letters to her baby, promising strength, peace, a home filled with love. She always meant every word. What she didn't know was that while she was planning for a shared future, Landon had already begun living a secret one. The betrayal hadn't exploded yet, but its shadow was already there, hovering over late-night texts she never saw, smiles she thought were hers but weren't, and an emotional withdrawal that made her feel like a stranger in her own home. But the worst part wasn't the silence. It was that she still loved him. She loved him while he was already lying to her. And in that love she stayed, still believing, still building, still carrying the future of someone who was slowly walking away from her. He didn't confess. She found out. It wasn't a dramatic moment, no screaming, no shattered glass. It was quiet, cold, like the truth had been sitting in the room all along, just waiting for her to notice. A message from her friend, a screenshot, a time-stamped photo. Landon with another woman. Not just once. Not just a misunderstanding. Repeated. Consistent. Hidden. Intentional. At first, she froze. Her mind raced, trying to force another explanation. Maybe it wasn't recent. Maybe it was old. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But she knew. The silence in their home hadn't been stillness, it had been distance. The late nights weren't about work. The changed behavior wasn't random. It had all been leading here. And now here it was. Undeniable. She asked him. Calmly. He didn't expect it. He stuttered. Lied. Said she was imagining things. That she was hormonal. That pregnancy was making her paranoid. He called it a joke. Said it meant nothing. Said she was overreacting. But his eyes couldn't meet hers. His voice cracked in the wrong places. And he never denied the facts. Not once. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She didn't scream. She walked away, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the floor. Her mind was silent, her body still. Inside her, their child was still growing. Outside, the world had just collapsed. He came and went as if nothing happened. She let him. She needed time, not explanations. She didn't want apologies. She wanted clarity, but clarity doesn't come from people who lie for comfort. So she stopped looking for it in him. She picked up her phone. Opened her Instagram. She didn't name names. She didn't drop details. Just one sentence: you never truly know someone until they shatter you. It was cryptic, but it was enough. People started asking questions. The tone of her followers changed. Messages of concern, support, heartbreak. The post disappeared after 24 hours, but the impact didn't. The speculation began. People guessed. Some already knew. Others pieced it together. When she later confirmed what happened, the backlash came fast. Landon's comment sections filled with anger, disappointment, disbelief. Some people who had looked up to them, who had admired their relationship, felt betrayed by the illusion. But none of that mattered to her. Internet backlash doesn't heal a broken heart. She posted again, this time directly. Yes, he cheated. And yes, I was 4 months pregnant. That was all. No extra emotion. No paragraphs. Just the truth laid bare. The internet did what it always does. It picked sides, spun narratives, posted reaction videos, made judgments. But behind the screen, Liz was trying to survive. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was layered. He hadn't just broken her trust. He had done it while she was creating life. While she was most vulnerable. While she was preparing to share everything with him. He had made promises to their future, even as he dismantled it in secret. She remembered the early days, the words he said when he found out she was pregnant. We're building something real. That's what he told her. But real things don't require hiding. Real love doesn't require lies. And real fathers don't turn their backs on families they help create. The pain came in waves. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Mornings were the hardest. Waking up and remembering it wasn't a bad dream. Remembering that the man she trusted most had been living a double life. Remembering that she would be raising this child alone, not by choice but by necessity. She never saw the other woman. She didn't want to. It didn't matter who she was. This wasn't about her. This was about choices. About deception. About a man who said one thing and did another. She thought about leaving earlier. She thought about the moments her instincts whispered that something was off. But she'd silenced those whispers. She wanted peace so badly, she ignored the noise building underneath. That was her mistake, and she owned it, but it was never her fault. There were no closure talks. No last conversations. He didn't fight for her, not really. He said sorry, but it was empty. Not because the words weren't real, but because they came too late. Trust, once broken, doesn't return on command. And yet, through all of it, she didn't collapse. She endured. Quietly. Privately. The betrayal didn't destroy her, but it changed her. She would never be the same. Not because she lost him, but because she saw the truth and she survived it. She knew now that love without loyalty is just performance. She had spent months preparing for a future. He spent months hiding from it. The pain was sharp, but the clarity was sharper. He had shown her exactly who he was. And now, finally, she believed him. She didn't disappear. She stepped back. Not out of weakness, but because healing isn't loud. After the storm hit, there was only stillness. People waited for another statement, another emotional update, something to feed the cycle. But she owed no one that. Her silence wasn't retreat. It was protection. She had a life to carry. She had herself to rebuild. The pain didn't vanish overnight. It sat with her. Quiet, heavy, and patient. She didn't try to numb it. She let it speak. Grief has its own language, and she learned it without resistance. Not all heartbreak comes from losing someone. Sometimes it comes from realizing who they truly were. She didn't reach out to him again. He didn't reach back. That chapter ended without final words. What more was left to say? He had written his side with actions. She chose not to reply with chaos. Her peace was louder than confrontation. The child growing inside her wasn't going to be born into bitterness. She made that decision early. She leaned on what remained, her core, her routine, her discipline. There were moments of quiet collapse, but she got up. Every time. She returned to journaling, not about the betrayal but about growth. About motherhood. About boundaries. She didn't want revenge. She wanted resilience. People told her she was strong. But strength doesn't feel like power when you're alone at night talking to a baby no one else stayed for. Strength in those moments felt like brushing her teeth while crying. Eating something even when her stomach turned. Going to doctor appointments alone and not breaking down in the waiting room. That was strength, unseen, unglamorous, real. When she spoke again, she didn't talk about him. She talked about trust. About listening to your body when something feels off. About never confusing love with attachment. About how betrayal is never a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of someone else's lack. She reminded her audience of something essential. Forgiveness isn't always reconciliation. You can let go without letting them back in. Forgiveness for her was cutting the cord between the pain and her identity. What he did wasn't going to define who she became. It wasn't going to shape the kind of mother she'd be. She stopped wondering if he regretted it. It didn't matter. Regret doesn't repair damage. And silence doesn't restore trust. She didn't need answers. She needed peace. And peace never comes from people who break you. She looked forward, but not out of denial. She accepted what happened. She carried the lesson, not the resentment. The biggest shift wasn't in how she saw him. It was in how she saw herself. She no longer needed someone to stay to feel safe. She became her own anchor. Pregnancy changed her, but not just physically. She started reading more, reflecting more, dreaming again. She created new goals, not based on partnership, but personal purpose. What she once wanted to share with someone, she was now building on her own. Not because she had no choice, but because she finally understood her capability. Love, she realized, isn't about promises. It's about consistency. It's about showing up, especially when it's hard. And anyone who leaves when things get real was never built for something lasting. The baby became her focus, her clarity, her reason to move forward with intention. She would teach that child that love should never come at the cost of your dignity. That honesty matters more than charm. That walking away from disrespect is not weakness, it's wisdom. She didn't pretend to have all the answers. She didn't claim to be healed completely. But she was honest about the process. Healing isn't linear. Some days were light, others dark. But with each step, she reclaimed something that was once lost. Herself. She chose grace over revenge. Silence over spectacle. Growth over cycles. And in that choice she found her real power. He had been a chapter, not the book. A lesson, not the definition. And now she was the author of what came next. Not the internet. Not the past. Not the betrayal. When people looked at her now, they saw strength. But what they didn't see was the quiet decision she made every day. To not let heartbreak harden her. To still believe in love, just not the kind that asks her to shrink. To still believe in truth, even if it cost her comfort. To still believe in herself without needing anyone else's permission. She wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. She was just living honestly, fully, bravely. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.